top 5 tips for developing your violin sound. If you haven't met, hi, I'm Megan. I'm a violinist and teacher. I've been playing violin for over 20 years. I have my bachelor's and master's degrees in violin performance, and I am Suzuki trained. If you're enjoying my videos, please double check and make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. It's easy and it's free and it really helps me out a lot. If you're interested in working with me, you can check out the description for a private lesson application where you can work with me one-on-one, and the waitlist for my online learning program, Learn Violin Online, where you can access hundreds of my video tutorials, plus monthly challenges, unlimited video feedback from me, and much more. So tip number 1 is the most basic, and that is hold the bow properly. I did a video a few weeks ago on the top 10 posture mistakes that I see beginners make, so I'll leave that linked for you to check out. I go really in depth on all of the bow hold mistakes there, but for now I'll just give a brief synopsis. When you're holding the bow, you want to make sure 1, that your thumb is bent outwards, 2, that your middle and ring fingers are covering the frog, and 3, that your pinky is on top of the bow, nice and curved. The 2 biggest things that are likely to happen are 1, your pinky to straighten out, and 2, your thumb to straighten out as well. But keeping all of the fingers, but especially those 2 bent, is extremely crucial for your sound. You can think of all your fingers, but especially your thumb, as a shock absorber. If they are straight, this is what it sounds like. Terrible, but not great. The sound is very, very harsh, and there's not a lot of depth or nuance to it. Plus, you could probably tell my bow was also very bouncy. Now it's because my bow hand, but namely my thumb, was not taking the shock. It wasn't absorbing the shock of my bow hair and my bow stick coming in contact with the string. In contrast, here's what it sounds like if my fingers are curved. Much better, right? It's still a clear sound, but it's not overly harsh, and my bow didn't bounce. Yay! Tip number 2 is to bow straight. So there are essentially 5 contact points on the violin, and when I say contact point, it refers to where your bow can come in contact with the string. So contact point number 1 is very close to the bridge. Contact point number 2 is still very close to the bridge, but slightly farther away. Contact point number 3 is halfway between the bridge and fingerboard. Contact point number 4 is closer to the fingerboard, and number 5 is right near the fingerboard. Obviously, there's a time and a place for all 5 of these contact points, but generally we want to try to stay in contact point number 3, halfway between the bridge and the fingerboard. So when your bow is crooked, what is essentially happening is you are changing contact points. So if I start off here, and let's say contact point number 2, and then my bow is crooked, and it goes all the way past contact point number 5, you can hear how the sound changes. It gets lighter, it gets thinner, it gets weaker. And the opposite is true when I go up bow. It gets louder. And again, while there is a time and a place for that, we do want to create crescendos and decrescendos sometimes. It's always through deliberate manipulation of our contact points, not just a crooked bow. Plus, visually, crooked bows are one of the quickest ways to tell that you're a beginner, because it's a big, big no-no. With that being said, I get it. I was in college and I was still being told that my bow was crooked, so I get it. But in order to have a beautiful sound, and more importantly, a sound that you are completely controlling, your bow needs to be straight. Tip number 3, which I think is arguably the most important tip, especially for beginners, is to develop bow hand flexibility. So I actually did a whole other video with several bow hand flexibility exercises that I will leave linked for you as well if you want to check that out. But I'm sure that when you watch famous violinists play, like Hilary Hahn or Ray Chen, or insert your favorite famous violinist here, you'll notice that their bow hands are really flexible. They're moving a lot. And this is a huge reason why they have such a beautiful sound. So the basics of this movement is when you go down bow, your fingers straighten out, and when you go up bow, they curl back in. Obviously, there's a lot of nuance to this, but that is the basics. So if I go down bow, my fingers straighten, and when I go up bow, they curl back in. Plus, for your fingers to be able to do this, for your fingers to be able to move, you have to have an extremely light bow touch, which is going to help your sound as well. If your fingers are too stiff and they are pressing on the bow too hard, it's not going to be a great sound. Tip number 4 kind of goes along with the sound factor, and that is to utilize your arm rate rather than pressure. So I know this is a little bit of an abstract concept, and it's honestly one that took me a really long time to understand, but the way that we create sound is not by simply just pressing on the bow. It's by allowing the natural weight of our arm to sink into the bow. So here's what it would sound like if I just pressed onto the bow. Take with that what you will. Now here's what happens if I utilize my natural arm weight and sink the weight of my arm into the string. It's loud, arguably just as loud, but it sounds a lot more resonant. When you press on the bow too hard, you actually prevent the violin from ringing, from resonating, which therefore squashes the sound. In contrast, when you just apply the natural weight of your arm into the string, that allows the violin to ring and resonate as much as it possibly can, which in turn will make you sound louder and better. And tip number 5 is to tilt your bow hair. So overall, tilting your bow hair gives you a sweeter sound. So this is me playing with flat hair. And this is me playing with tilted hair. So yes, the flatter hair is louder, but the tilted hair is sweeter. Honestly, you likely, and maybe I'm just speaking for me, I tilt my hair probably about like 90% of the time. It's only when I want to play extremely, extremely loudly that I would use flat bow hair. In fact, I remember taking viola lessons in college, and every single day, every single lesson, my teacher would tell me to play with flat hair because I was always tilting the hair. Another thing to consider with this is that you don't want to tilt the hair all the time. It's always a good idea to tilt the hair when you get to the frog. The frog is the hardest part of the bow to play in. It's the heaviest and therefore the harshest. Plus, our pinky has to be really active, which can take a long time to develop. So if you tilt your hair as you're approaching the frog, that will give you a better, sweeter sound. So those are my top 5 tips for developing a beautiful violin sound or a beautiful violin tone. If these were helpful, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Thank you for watching.